All right, we are back, and tonight we're actually dangerously close to a competitive deck tonight. Yeah, so I recognize that the record hasn't been doing super well lately, and we've been playing some super jank, so we're going to try to lean a little bit into a more fringe deck tonight. Tonight's going to be green ramp. We are splashing red out of the board, so we are technically girl, but what can you do? As far as what we're doing, it's going to be kind of the same concept as Tron and Modern. We're just going to try to ramp into big Eldrazi and colorless threats, but yeah, that's the plan. We are going to do a couple of things different from the actual green ramp decks that are currently in the meta, and I'll cover that in a moment. But first, our threats. So we are rocking 3 of each World Breaker and Ugin Spirit Dragon. So World Breaker, when it enters, exile target artifact, enchantment, or land. It's a 5/7 with reach, and you can pay 2 and a colorless to return World Breaker from your graveyard to your hand for 7 mana. It's a 5/7. A lot of words there. More importantly, we can hit a land or potentially problem artifact or enchantment. But a couple of keywords. It is very synergistic with some of the rest of pieces of our deck, but overall just a generic beater. Ugin is an 8 mana planeswalker. I love Ugin. I absolutely love casting Ugin. And basically everybody, there's a mistake with Moto and they passed out too many promos, so everybody gets the Fate Reforged remix. But Ugin's 8 mana plus will lightning bolt something, minus will exile everything with that converted mana cost or less. And the ultimate is gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, put a permanent from your hand into the battlefield. Overall, just very strong. Then Ulamog is going to be our primary threat. We only have 2 of him, but he is definitely our top end. 10 mana for a 10/10. When you cast him, exile 2 target permanents. He's indestructible, and when he attacks, he numbs away 20 cards out of your opponent's library. The one thing we are doing differently here is instead of running Elvish Rejuvenator, I am running Ruin in their wake. It's 2 mana, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it. You may put that card into the battlefield tapped if you control a land named Waste. Otherwise, you put that into your hand. So for 2 mana, it is a ramping growth if we have a Waste. So we have Traverse and Fable Passage as ways to actually fetch out our Waste to hopefully be able to cast this and actually use it to ramp on turn 2 instead of putting out Elvish Rejuvenator as a 1/1 that can chump block for a turn. Then for ramp, instead of having the full playset of Hour of Promise, and I believe some people are running the Explosive Vegetation, we have 2 copies of Nissa and 2 copies of Hedron Archive. Hedron Archive was in the standard variants of the deck because at 4 mana it helps you ramp really quickly, and if you do happen to get all of your mana and you're not top decking your threats, you can sack it to draw 2 cards. Nissa will allow us to untap and hopefully ramp up into Ulamog the following turn, as well as just turn some of our additional lands into threats since we are running 27 of them. And then Nissa's Renewal, instead of a couple of copies of Hour of Promise, Nissa's Renewal does cost 1 more mana and only gets basics, but it gets us 3. So if we cast Nissa's Renewal, we just need 1 more land drop, and we can actually cast Ulamog. More importantly, though, it gains us 7 life, which is actually a huge swing if you're just trying to buy that single turn before dropping your threat. 7 life is very important. But that's the deck. Again, we are kind of borderline competitive with this one. We have a pretty stock build with really good cards, and that's going to be it. A couple of the land choices. We have 3 copies of Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. It taps for colorless, where most of our deck is colorless, but it can also tap for 2 colorless if we have 7 lands. We also have 2 Sanctums. We are also rocking a copy of Golos and the Cascading Cataracts, so we can actually free cast off the top of our deck. Just a couple of little fun things in there, like I always try to include. And this hand is atrocious. Oh my gosh, that is so bad. Arch of Vraska, if we end up hitting enough lands, we can start activating it to draw every turn. Also a pretty good target with Hour of Promise. We have both of our deserts if we want to get zombies, and yeah, that's just not happening. And this is fantastic. So this is actually a turn 2 Ruin, and it's probably going to be a turn 3 Nissa. A-okay. We do need to tuck something, though. So it's probably going to be the second Arboreal Grazer. Just not quite what we're looking for. We could actually Ruin and Arboreal Grazer if we rip another forest off the top, but those odds don't seem good enough to try to bet on it. right, well, this start's going to make us look like Eldrazi. Arboreal Grazer is seeing a lot of play in the Lotus Storm deck, but putting a waste into play here definitely screams like we're probably doing something else. Drownyard Catacombs makes me think that we're looking at control on the other side of the table. Well, players Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, we can go ahead and Ruin in the Wake. Get an additional forest just so that we can actually cast our Nissa. And I am a huge fan of sending the message. There are some minimal ways that we get punished with that, but it all almost involves a mountain and something hasty. Wow, our opponent has nothing. Okay, well, this only taps for 2 for colorless spells, and only if you have 7 or more lands. Ripping the additional land here is fine, but it doesn't really do anything beneficial for us. Our Arboreal Grazer, go ahead and resend that message. I have to assume our opponent's hand is stacked. Like, if they miss a land drop here, they might even just concede. Okay, so they are Grixis. And let's see. Hour of Promise, go get zombies, and then start eating their lands. Sounds super good. Nissa, next turn, being able to Hour of Promise or World Breaker is probably better. Gives us a little more flexibility. Although, if they do have counter spells, the World Breaker is on cast trigger, so I think I'm going to lean that direction. Let's see. Sanctum, cast... No, we have to get a Sanctum because we can crack the Sanctum to go get an additional threat. So we'll grab Sanctum and I guess that point Arch of Araska. Because they are red, I guess Grazer can stay back. It's not like he actually swings for damage, but we got to send a message for 2 turns, so good on you, Beast. I appreciate you. Well, that's a little heartbreaking. They have to take the World Breaker just because the Sanctum of Ugin is threatening to go grab Ugin. So Nissa should be able to come down. Nissa come down and untap a forest. I'll have 3 mana left over. Not quite good enough, but I can crack the World Breaker at instep, which seems good enough. So we'll go ahead and take that line. There's our City's Blessing, which is great. So if I untap Arch of Araska, they can actually kill it. Let's just send Blast Zone into the red. Fatal Push. Alright, just confirm. This is 2 and a colorless. Yep. Alright, Blast Zone goes away. Nothing really lost there. We have plenty of lands. We weren't going to be activating it anytime soon. I wanted to keep the waste for a future Ruin in their wake. And basically everything else is great utility, unless they have Dreadbore, or I guess, okay, yep, that works too. Slight play mistake in the fact that I activated this before Instep. If they did have a Thoughtseize, they'd be able to activate it there, but what can you do? We're coming down. We're going to eat. Yeah, let's take the blue. I don't like counter spells. Then we'll crack this, go get another World Breaker. That's going to threaten to eat their land next turn. We are going to send Arboreal in at this point. You got to send that message, and I wouldn't be too surprised if they scooped off of that, so it just seemed like it would be an awesome flavor win to have them scoop with the Grazer attacking them. Okay. Yep, you got it. They knew what was in our hand. We had to reveal it. Oh well, what can you do? So control matchup means Tireless Tracker and Thought-Knot Seer comes in. I hadn't put too much thought into what I'm taking out. It's likely going to be Ugin just because the 8 mana is doable, but it's easier to counter. At least we get cast triggers on these 2 guys. Nissa's renewal is probably out. We don't care about gaining the 7 life here. Golos is fine just because he has the enter the battlefield ability. If they can't immediately answer him and we go get our Cascading Cataracts, we can free cast off the top of our deck. Hour of Promise is a ramp spell as well as a threat because we have deserts. Hedron Archive is fine. Traverse might be just a little bit on the slow side. We're planning on playing a little bit longer, which is why the Tireless Trackers and the Thought Knots come in. These are 2-for-1s. That looks pretty solid. If we're actually taking out the Traverses, we might actually just want the Ruin in their wakes. At least Traverse can grab me a creature. And Traverse is meant to get me my waste so I can actually cast the Ruin. So I think that's a little bit more correct. If we had the Elvish Rejuvenator, the 1/1 that gets a land off the top 5, he would probably be the cut in this matchup. So that actually makes a lot of sense that the card we're playing in place of it gets trimmed. Hedron Archive, again, is either ramp or a threat. If they don't counter that, it's going to be a draw 2. It is a 6-mana draw 2, but draw 2 versus control is quite good. You're going to have to find a way to actually exile the World Breakers so we can't just buy them back. Most of the time, control decks end up having a problem with big mana decks that actually make big mana happen fairly quickly. Oh boy. Do I like this hand? I don't know if I like this hand. We're on the draw. We have 2 lands. We have 27 in the deck, though, which means there's 25 of 53. I do get started on Arboreal Grazer, put in the Shrine, and then next turn I get a Ruin in the Wake, play that land for turn. Then I have 3 looks, to find an additional land for this Hedron Archive. 3 looks is probably fine given the number of lands in our deck. With roughly about a 50% chance. We are not deterministic to drop, but it's insanely likely. And you really don't want to mulligan versus the Thoughtseize matchup. Was actually probably the first thing I should have said. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them take the Grazer here, just because Ruin in the Wake was already going to put this into our hand without the waste. So may as well slow us down and get the body off the field. Alternatively, Hour of Promise is a problem. Nissa is actually our biggest threat at the moment. They have some options, but given our lack of lands, I think on the opponent's side, I'd take the Grazer. It does really depend on what I have in my hand, but odds are you don't really want to Fatal Push this. You're not going to be attacking in through it very quickly. Yeah, that actually might mean that I'm not taking the Grazer. And Hedron Archive. Interesting. Not the one I actually would have put them on, but sure. If they have a counter spell, I can also see them countering this Ruin in their wake. Even remanding it puts us back a full turn that the Grazer bought us. Tapped. So if they have a counter spell, it's going to be a Spell Pierce. Fabled Passage actually allows us to put it into play tapped. So, huge fan of that. And then I guess we see if they kept the Spell Pierce. Apparently not. I brought in Thought Knots here, and I already have the waste, so I just want more green sources so I can actually play my Nissa. And Grazer, keep sending that message. You did good work last game. You didn't actually do anything beneficial for me, but you did good work last game. Alright, so opponent found red. In my head, that means Kolaghan's Command. This Nissa's Pilgrimage can get countered by Drown in the Loch, which is kind of a problem. I also should have left the green up. The green represents us being able to do more things. Alright, well, that's mildly interesting. Cards currently on my radar. I doubt it's Hazoret, but it would have haste, so Arboreal Grazer can stay back just in case he is blocking. He won't be able to... Actually, he could block a Glorybringer, but it won't be down yet. So they know our hand. The fact that they have 4 mana up really reeks of counterspell. Of the things I'd want to get countered, I think Hour of Promise is at the top of that list. So we'll start with Hour of Promise. They have to counter this if they have a counterspell. They do know about the Nissa, so I could see waiting a little bit, but this is one of those must counter cards. Yep, there's the Disallow. I did consider leading on Rune in the Wake, putting it in my hand. You can choose to put it in the hand despite the fact that we have a waste. I could have made the play for turn. It'd be untapped and I'd have 5 mana. But it is slightly weak to Spell Pierce, which I could see our opponent having. So 6 mana at the moment. Well, the fact that they're still leaving up all this mana means that I need to plan on getting another spell countered. Ruin in the Wake here is actually so that I can have the Shrine of the Forsaken Gods online. And Golos won't get spell pierced. So I can actually take the line I was just describing. Alright, and opponent brought in Disdainful Stroke. I'm not overly familiar with Control and Pioneer at the moment since I haven't actually tried to learn the format. I am mainly a Control player, but Disdainful Stroke feels like it probably has a decent home, but I don't think I'd actually opt into it in my sideboard. There's just so many better color hate cards that actually accomplish close to the same thing. Alright, well we have Delirium, which means opponent's going to have to counter this. This is currently tapping for 2 colorless, so we have 8 mana. Let's traverse for a World Breaker. Because if they let this resolve, it means that we're getting the World Breaker. I am so confused. Alright, well, opponent must not be on much action then. We're going to take their red source away. They know about the Nissa in hand. They don't know about the second World Breaker. Okay. I mean, we have 8 cards in our yard. If they did have Drown in the Loch, they could have either countered or killed this. Grazer, get on in there. I love what you're doing, bud. You are just doing fine work for me today. Sending all those messages. Alright, well, don't really know what opponent's up to. Hedron Archive is fine. Hedron Archive will still let me cast Nissa this turn. So let's go ahead and attack with World Breaker, see what opponent's up to. I mean, we're just so far ahead on board, and every card in my hand is fantastic. They're on 4 cards. I don't know what they are, but they haven't been casting them, so they're probably not high value at the moment. Alright, well, I guess we'll see if you have another counterspell. Because you have to deal with this. Like, you're playing Control. This is a 2-for-1. It's an expensive 2-for-1, but it's still a 2-for-1. And that's after it gives me value. So what have you got, bud? You trying to save it for my Nissa? Alright, Commit's going to put it second from the top. Little sad that means I'm redrawing after committing mana for it, but that's fine. I would have preferred that they committed the World Breaker just because I would have also eaten a land. But that's fine. I mean, we've been putting them to the test. We've run out some good stuff. Alright, I really don't want to show them the land yet. It doesn't mean I still won't be able to... Oh, if I lead on Nissa, I can Nissa and World Breaker. So yeah, I think that's the plan. Let's get our beats for 7 in. If they have removal, they have to spend it here. Although we are just so far ahead on board, I really just don't want to run anything else into it. If they did have something like Bantu's Last Reckoning as a board clear, like they had the red. So they could potentially be a Fires deck. I don't know. They have counter spells. It's impossible. Yeah, I mean, we just have them dead to rights. I'm really okay just clocking them here. If they are up to any shenanigans, we have backup plans. They did also show us Fatal Push in the first game, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they left it in. Obviously, it's not the correct call, but... Okay, running out Jace is a blocker there. It means I am supposed to lead on Nissa now, just so that I can actually put the real clock on. If they have disallow, they're going to have to fire it off here. Looks like they do not. I didn't bring in any red sources, so Mountain is my most expendable card. If they Fatal Push, I might laugh a little bit. Okay, you got it. So they did upgrade. They chump, everything's good. Let's just Hedron Archive. They won't be able to do anything with it, which means I can cash it out next turn, assuming they're not dead. But they have to be drawing a board clear here, and then still have an answer for 2 recursive World Breakers. So 4 mana. Crux of Fate. Okay, so they're probably dragons. That's at least my takeaway from that. And that's an Ulamog, so cash out, bro down. Do you have an answer for an indestructible that eats 2 of your lands? Because even if you do, I still have 2 World Breakers going. Although you haven't seen this guy, so... Alright, Control. I did mention it. We're going to eat Control alive. We just go over the top of them. That shouldn't be the difficult matchup. The difficult matchup is going to be the low to the ground decks, which is why we have the Coursers and the Kozilek's returns in the side. It was really nice that our deck did exactly what it wanted to, though. It hit the ramp cards. It was able to Ruin in the Wake, which was probably the riskiest selection in the deck. And both times that we... Actually, every time that we cast it multiple times both games. Ended up doing what it was supposed to. Bolt the birds. This is a little bit slow on the draw. Let's actually take a quick look at the curve again. So I can mulligan for a Arboreal Grazer or a Traverse, or potentially a Ruin in the Wake. Alternatively, I draw 1 land. I have Nissa's Pilgrimage into Hour of Promise, into Nissa's Renewal, into World Breaker. So super slow start here. If I go for the Arboreal Grazer, it only helps in the creature matchups, and I go down a card. I also don't guarantee having a threat or ramp in future hands. I think we're going to have to hang on to this guy. Botanical Sanctum. Alright, well, the Witch is dead. This is still probably mono green, but they're not going to have Oko anymore. Opt makes me think that this might be the new Blue Devotion list running around with Risen Reef, which, huge shout out to Saffron Olive. I tried to make it work, and it was a little rough, but he ended up getting a really good list out there. Alright, strategic planning. This is actually going to be the Storm deck. Yep, Vizier to untap, Lotus Field. I won't be able to answer the lands in any meaningful way. Fabled Passage is going to enter tapped, and it's also going to get me my waste. So I'm actually good to pass back. Although odds are opponent's going to end up putting the Lotus Field into play this turn, potentially untapping it, and then we're going to be a little short on time to live. I'm not really sure how we will be able to kill our opponent at fast enough speed. The fact that Lotus Field has hexproof means that World Breaker can't eat it, which is kind of a problem. Nissa is actually a pretty decent threat for turn 4. Not great, but fine. It gives me at least a little bit of time. Thespian stage will be able to copy Lotus Field if I target it. Oh, if they tap out here, I can eat the Thespian stage. Okay, apparently not going to happen. Yep, more strategic plannings. This means that they're going to dig through time this turn. They're attempting to kill us. Or not. We have one more turn. At this point, I believe I actually have to scavenger grounds them, which is super unfortunate. I don't have any way to cast anything other than just the scavenger grounds, but they've put 11 cards in their yard, which means 2 casts of dig through time. I can at least set them back for a turn here, so that's going to be my line. Let's sacrifice you. Yes. Eat all the graveyards, and then if we caught him with his pants down, we might be able to squeeze a win out of this still, but not a huge chance of that happening. More strategic plannings. Yep, and they're twiddling away. Opponent has officially gotten mana faster than us. Oh, double cast, so they're really going for it. Pour over the pages, untaps all the lands, draws all the cards. So we're going to have 6 for a moment and see if opponent can figure out how to kill us. Odds are that we're not going to be able to put a threat into play and still win the game. So it's probably going to be a time saver if I just consume here. Concede. Oh, yeah, there's a dig through time. We are super dead. Not going to happen. All right, combo opponent. Bringing in Thought-Knot Seers. And I think that's it. No, we'll bring in Cindervines. So Cindervines will ping them anytime they cast a non-creature spell. So if they're trying to storm off, then that should actually be able to kill them as well. Ugin's not going to have any current pressure on the board state. Honestly, these guys aren't that great either. We really just need to lower our curve and actually punish our opponent for whatever they're doing. I think that means Golos gets to come out as well, and Hour of Promise can actually get us our specific lands, like Scavenger Grounds, that can be helpful here. So I think that needs to stay in. That means that either Nissa or Hedron Archive is probably going to be the cut. No, I actually think I want the Hedron Archive, and I can take out the Nissa's Renewal. The 7 life isn't that relevant, but if for some reason our opponent stumbles or fizzles or something, then Hedron Archive can at least let us refuel. Alright, this is not any better than the previous hand, and we need to be faster. And this is okay. So we get to Traverse on 1, go get our Waste, then Ruin in the Wake, and then Pilgrimage, and hopefully find a threat. In the meantime, we do have the Scavenger Grounds to go off, and Shrine is our worst land, and we have plenty of mana here, so that's going to be the putback. Let's grab our Waste. And then they're going to have kind of a slow start as well. Combo does typically end up beating ramp decks. It's kind of just in the turn clocks. They get off just a little bit faster than us. Yep. The Arboreal Grazer, which means they could potentially Lotus Field next turn. Ooh, and there's our Cindervine. So we do have at least one turn. So we can Ruin before we have to Cindervines. Get our Mountain. Put it into the battlefield. Then that means I can Cindervines or Scavenger Grounds next turn or Nissa's Pilgrimage. Not a fan of any of those lines. But it's probably going to be the Cindervines. They do want to get a second Lotus Field before completely going off, so I might have one turn to Nissa's Pilgrimage. Yeah, I actually think that does mean I have one turn to Nissa's Pilgrimage, so let's just take our turn and ramp. I really don't want to show my opponent the Scavenger Grounds until I have to, so we're probably just going to put the Force into play that we draw. The Sanctum technically taps for mana next turn. No, I'm going to want the green next turn. Alright, that means we can Pilgrimage and Cindervines. And I guess we'll see if they actually brought in any enchantment hate. It's quite possible they didn't. No Thespian stage there means we also might get one more turn. It's hard for them to go off with one, but it is possible. And I guess we'll see if they want to go for it. They can't even really dig yet. They're going to have to cycle a couple of times. Yeah, I don't think we're dying here. Oh, they did think about it. Cypher is only whenever your creature deals combat damage can you recast it, so they probably could have put it on the Arboreal Grazer, but it wasn't actually going to deal any damage. Okay, cashing out for a double dig through time. That does put us very close to dead, but they haven't seen the Cindervines yet, so they're not going to grab any hate. They're probably just grabbing cards to go off. But they're going to have their selection of cards to go off. I assume that includes a Vizier and a Thespian stage. Maybe a Growth Spiral. Alright, and that's an Ulamog, so we're getting closer. Gotta put out the Cindervines. May as well Sanctum at this point. Again, don't really want to show them the Scavenger Grounds until I'm ready to fire it off. Here's yet another Pilgrimage. We do have Spell Mastery, which means we get 3. And, alright opponent, this is your go. We get 2 lands next turn, I believe. So that's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. No, we need a little bit more ramp before that happens. But it's up to opponent to find an answer for Cindervines. Cycling is not actually casting, so they're not going to take a trigger from the vines. There's the Hidden Stirring, so untap the 2 Lotus fields, so lots and lots of mana. And unfortunately, we just sit here and see if opponent has it or not. I assume that they're going for it because they have an answer. They just need to find it, but... Okay. We are currently winning this race. Oh boy. That was actually a mistake. I should have ran out the Scavenger Vines there. But next turn we get to Ulamog anyway, eat the Niv Mizzet, and probably the Temple of Mystery. At this point, they have to be planning on hitting me with the 5/5 a number of times in order to try to kill me, but they are currently getting clocked for 2, so we're going to be going to 12. They'll be at 17. We are winning the race just off of drawing. Dig Through Time also is put them into your hand, not draw, so they're going to just take damage for casting that. And let's just put some yields into place. Alright, so 5, 6, 7, 8. We are still a little loose on mana. Top decking a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods or a World Breaker would be good. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods would allow us to cast Ulamog. World Breaker would actually block Niv Mizzet. And I'm not F6ing here because I actually might need to crack the Cindervines to destroy an enchantment. I'm trying to think of one that they run off the top of my head, but I can't really think of one. Okay, we actually might just die here because these are actually draw threes. So they need to draw 4 more off of... Yeah, we might actually just be dead. Double cast is good for us. They need to draw 2, though, so if they have any draw effect, we're just dead to combat damage. Alright. Well, that's another one where I kind of just expect to lose. Combo's going to be a little bit faster than us. Damping Sphere would be a card that I actually would consider out of the sideboard now that Oko's no longer in the format, just because that deck actually gets a little bit more breathing room, similar to us. Yeah, Damping Sphere taking the place of either Tireless Trackers or potentially Coursers. Like, even Thought-Knot Seer might be a better replacement as a Damping Sphere there. This is actually a super weird hand. So we're going to have to spend the first turn traversing to get our waste, and then turn 2 is going to be another forest for an Arboreal Grazer that can't do anything. But we have plenty of ramp, and we have a World Breaker, so this is probably a keep. This is currently representing actually only 3 lands. I do think that that's probably worth it, though, just because we have a couple of plays and multiple chump blockers, and if we rip a land, which we're still statistically likely to do, we're going to have 24 out of 52. Well, maybe not probable, but likely. All right, traverse, get the waste. Mountain. So keeping the Grazers was a good call here if they're going to be an aggressive deck. Cataracts. All right. Well, that's a card. Yeah, this is still correct. Then we'll have 5 mana after this next turn. Potentially 6 if we rip a land. I'm kind of feeling like this is going to be Saffron Olive's budget mono red list that he just ran, the Red Devotion. Oh, that's great. Although we won't be turning it on yet. Interesting. All right. Well, Arboreal Grazer. Let's go ahead and put the Cataracts into play. Arboreal Grazer. Put the Shrine into play. Then just need to rip 1 more land for World Breaker. 4, 5, 6. This won't tap for 2 until we have 7 lands and we're 1 off. Alright, Stomping Us. So, could be the red aggro list. Just the red deck wins. Could be the red devotion list. Although, I don't think he was running this because it only has 1 red pip in it. So, more likely to just see this Bone Crusher Giant come down and pass turn. Alright, well, World Breaker it is. The fact that we can keep rebuying it is great too. They won't be able to kill it. Having a 7 toughness is just a really fat butt. That's a chonky badonkadonk. So they're going to have to use multiple burn spells to get around it. Like, that was our turn 4. We have no gas left in the tank, but pretty good turn 4. Could also potentially be the Aristocrats list running around, but it doesn't seem as likely. They'd need to have black in their list somewhere. Alright, well, let's attack Chandra. I'm assuming Bone Crusher Giant is chump blocking for it. If they're wanting to pressure us, they shouldn't make that line, but if they care about having the elementals enter and leave, that could be more possible. In the meantime, though, Hedron Archive comes out. We're going to crack it now. We have 2 lands available. Yeah, we have a couple of things we can cast, and getting an artifact into the yard is relevant here. Okay, well, Nissa's Pilgrimage doesn't accomplish much, but the Hour of Promise will go get us a Sanctum, making any colorless thing off the top twice as deadly. Hour of Promise can also get us the Ascend, Draw Land, Arch of Araska. Could also get us 2 deserts and we could get 2 zombies, but that doesn't seem nearly as relevant as drawing multiple cards a turn. It's really nice having utility lands that are really hard for our opponent to interact with. It's going to be a plus from Chandra and put loyalty on each Chandra Planeswalker, so it'll stick around. Adding for mana. Ooh, it's Chandra Tribal! I tried to make that work in Modern. P.S. It didn't work. Alright, so Traverse won't be online until we get... Ooh, I could actually go get Fabled Passage to get us closer to Delirium. But I really don't think that's correct at this exact moment. So let's go ahead and just... Hour of Promise. We'll go get our... Blast Zone's actually kind of interesting here. I think I want at least 1 Sanctum, because Sanctum's going to make it so that I can double cast. And then Shrine of the Forsaken Gods technically taps for a lot of mana, but I think it's just Arch of Vraska. I'd prefer to draw cards here. That also gives me City's Blessing. Alright, well, the Chandra's Regulator is actually kind of a problem just because they'll be able to double activate the Chandra, and that should kill Worldbreaker. Although recasting Worldbreaker will eat the Regulator, so that's kind of neutral. Casting Traverse here is... I'm going to have to find a way to kill a creature and to get a land into the yard, so I think we're just going to ship it back. I have cards and I want to cast them, but it's not really correct to do that here. Chandra's Regulator also will filter their draws, get rid of mountains, and actually get them more gas. Activating this Chandra will get them 4 elemental tokens. Activating this one, at the moment, will give them 4 mana or let them cast 2 cards. They're actually pretty close to casting their own Ulamog if they wanted to by doubling up. I guess that does cost 1, so it'd give them 3 mana, but still. They have some options. I really loved this card when it got spoiled. At 2 mana, it was pretty close to playable. It was a fun effect, but it wasn't anything backbreaking. This is the type of card design that I am 100% for. Just lets you try to have some fun in a different way. It really requires a build around. Oh, interesting. So they actually could go for kill Worldbreaker here. I think most people aren't aware of the fact that you can rebuy Worldbreaker, though. Guess we'll see. Oh, they're going for it. They're trying. If they find any creatures to block. Oath of Chandra. Wow, they are full-blown Chandra tribal. Respect. I'm assuming your name is Josh. Respect, Josh. And Lightning Strike. Might want to cast that one. Depends on what's in hand, though. Okay, I don't know if tapping 2 mana to deal 1 more damage was beneficial or not, but I'll take your word for it. Cycling the Abrade means I get to kill Torch of Defiance, which more than likely means that they either whiff super hard or they probably have a second one. And Forest is not what I was looking for. Alright, well, I know I want to kill Torch. And need to count the mana. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for colorless, 10 for normal, 11 for colorless. Arch is tap 5. That's not actually going to get me there, so I think first things first. Let's Oath of Nissa. And I can sack that regardless of its tap status or not. Get out. We have Spell Mastery. Finish all the forests in the deck. Yeah, then I guess I'm on draw. There's an Ugin. Okay. Ugin means that we can win pretty much regardless of what opponent does here. It is possible to shoot me for 13. Chandra's Regulator doubling up is a little scary, but Ugin comes down, -3s right now. They have no board state. Seems fine. And then I get to crack the Sanctum of Ugin, go get Ulamog. Ulamog them next turn. Really would prefer if one of these would die, but what can you do? That is actually very scary. It means that all of the 1/1 elementals that they're going to create, when they create 4 of them, are going to be shooting for 3 because a red source will be doing 1 more. Okay. That's not as much damage as the elementals were going to do, but that's fine. I'll take 5. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. And that's a Nissa. Oh, we're doing it. We're totally doing it. Okay, let's untap on this. It should still be colorless. Yep, doesn't say it's green anywhere. So then we have 8 for Ugin. We're going to sack the Ugin. We'll go get Ulamog. We will -4 to get rid of their entire board and keep Nissa around. Then we can forest. That forest means we still don't have Delirium, but we have 4, 5, 6, 7 for colorless. Maybe World Breaker would have been more correct there. Forest will be able to block for Nissa though. And without Torbrand or Chandra's Regulator, it's really going to be hard for them to aid us here. Guess it's possible to like dual cast and Lightning Strike, then sack Ranumap the following turn, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That would have been really bad if we didn't Ugin here. If they kill the land, that turns... No, it does not turn on Delirium. We got the additional land from sacking the Sanctum. Okay. Exiles Ugin. Honestly, not a sentence I would think I'd hear all that often, but pulled it off. Arboreal Grazer. Sure. So we want to float the mana, untap, colorless, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Don't want to tap the Arch. I should be able to activate it. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ulamog. We're going to exile you and one of the Ranumap Ruins. Then Alpha. 1 point off. Having a Walking Ballista in the deck actually might be a request I have for the future. But let's go ahead and... Nope, Traverse is still not online. I don't know why I keep thinking it's online. Not online. I want to draw cards. 4, 5, 6. This is Pilgrimage. I don't have any Forest, so that's actually just a dead card. And we ship it back, put it on an opponent to aid us here. It may have been correct to put Arboreal Grazer on the battlefield for some reason. They end up getting 4 attackers, but that's fine. Chandra Tribal. Alright, Thought Knot dies to Chandra Torch of Defiance minus, but it actually can also pull out any combo cards like the Regulator out of their hand. Cindervines is a little cute here. I think I want it just for the fact that I can destroy a Regulator. Courser gains us a little bit of life, which probably feels relevant. I don't think I'm bringing all of these in, but I do want to see the cards that I want. Tracker probably just dies to most of the Lightning Strikes and Wild Slashes, so probably not overly excited about that. Kozilek's Return can clear out any of the Elementals during combat. Not cute, like cute, but not good. World Breaker, again, fat butt. Ugin can just clear all of their progress out of the way. Ulamog, just a fantastic finisher. Nissa is probably the bad one here. She needs to stick. And they have lots of targeted removals. She also has high loyalty. I can see Golos being a higher priority than her for cuts. Hedron Archive could also be a cut. We're not lowering our curve much, so I probably want to get rid of some of the extra cards. Yeah, Cindervines is probably just a little too cute. damages them anytime they cast a Chandra, but then once it's out, yeah, Cindervine's not going to make the cut. Courser is also pseudo card advantage, and Planeswalkers are essentially control decks, so kind of on board for that. Traverse is probably better than Ruin in the Wake, and just trim a couple of those like we did in the other game. Seems fine. Really lowered the curve, actually put a couple of beaters out so we can pressure their Planeswalkers and not just rely on one big thing. But it looks like we're relying on one big thing with this hand. The double Ulamog is basically at least a mull to 6, not having an untapped land, and our 5 and 6 drop ramp spells is so bad. Nope, goodbye. And this is fine. So this is going to be Grazer put in... Oh boy, I don't think that's actually Grazer here. Opponent is currently also on the mulligan to 6. We are keeping this, and I think I'm going to be shipping the... Jeez, this is actually the Thought-Knot Seer. So Grazer put in Fabled Passage, then next turn, crack the Fabled Passage, go get Waste, play the Cataracts, Ruin in the Wake, get our 4th land. That means that Courser's probably the worst card in this hand. But I'd rather have a Courser on the table than a Thought-Knot Seer, so... Happy to hear thoughts on that one. Okay. They saw our World Breakers, right? I don't know. I just don't know. Actually, I think I'm putting in the Forced here because I can just Courser next turn and then gain more life off the Fabled Passage. I mean, if I'm casting an Ulamog, I feel like your Leyline isn't really what I want to be targeting. I don't know. I really don't know what our opponent's doing over there. Our Promise is fine. They are 1 turn away from Chandra eating our Courser, which means we'll gain at least a little bit of life off of this. This Fabled Passage can go get us a Waste. Oh. Yeah, that's actually going to shut off our Fabled Passage here. Mildly annoying. But it would have meant that I didn't have a turn 2 Courser, and turn 2 Courser is amazing. I don't think that was a mistake. Naming Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Okay. So, he's trying to play big red in Pioneer without Blood Moon. Interesting gambit, but alright. I don't really want to draw the Nissa's Pilgrimage here, and I'm going to gain 1 life from the 2 that I lose by putting this into the battlefield this turn, so... Did I actually board in any red cards? I did not. Yeah, I'm going to get the Forest because Nissa actually does kind of care. Oh, the Arboreal Grazer is also going to put our Fabled Passage in. I'm okay with that. Sending Courser in if they have a Wild Slash and they want to trade Eidolon 2 damage for it, that's fine. Otherwise, Grazer can block the Eidolon. If they want to Lightning Strike the Grazer, then by all means they can Lightning Strike the Grazer. Yeah. I'm not really sure what opponent's sideboarding option is. That's 4 damage off of the Eidolon to cast both halves of that. Okay. Well, shuffle that away. I don't want that. Traverse is fine. I don't have Delirium, though. Hour of Promise will actually get me cards that I care about, so yeah, let's do this. And I'm likely not going to be putting this Arboreal Grazer into play. I don't think it's worth the damage. Blast Zone clearing the Eidolon here seems pretty good. You pretty much always just want to get a Sanctum of Ugin unless you're going for zombie tokens. Then how much mana do I actually have? I have 6, 7, 8... I can try and just make sure I can cast Ulamog, or I can Arch. I actually have a couple of permanents into play. I think I'm going to grab Arch just so I can start drawing cards. Then Nissa's Pilgrimage on top is not really what I wanted. I think the correct line there was actually to put the Arboreal Grazer into play and take the 2 damage, because that would have put Fabled Passage into play. I could have set an upkeep stop and shuffled if I didn't like the card on top. Oh, they're just done. Alright, well. I mean, I likely would have cast the Nissa's Pilgrimage. Yeah, I didn't have any great stuff on the top, but punish the Chandra Tribal deck. I feel bad about that. I liked opponent's deck, but I did learn in Modern it doesn't work, so I guess they got to learn that too. Us being on the play, I don't think I can keep this. I don't have a second land drop, which means I have to rip a land off the top. And even if I did, I didn't have a 3-mana ramp spell, so gotta try to do a little bit better. Yikes. And sometimes playing utility lands has a real cost. Assuming I ship back the Ugin, I don't have the green. I get 1 green I can Pilgrimage. But then I wouldn't have a threat in hand. I think I've got to look for something better. London Mulligans. Yikes. Alright, we keep. Let's ship back. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods and probably a Fabled Passage. Castle's going to come in really slow. But Castle is still a turn 3 play that will come in. So, yeah, another Fabled Passage. That's a terrible Mold of 5. But we will actually cast a turn 2 and a turn 3 ramp spell. So, just looking for a bomb. Show me a bomb. I'd like to see a bomb. Okay, tapped. So, we're going to go get our waste. Ruin in Their Wake has actually been pretty good. Like, it's not an amazing card, but to be a functional Rampant Growth and Pioneer, I think that that's probably a fine card. It does require at least 1 waste in the deck, and we have to have 8 ways to tutor it in our version, but it does actually seem alright. Well, Nissa's Pilgrimage is going to thin our deck more than the other cards, so let's do that. Then I need 7 lands before that's active. I'm going to be at 5. They are Jund. They're actually probably Soulflare. I should have tried to make that analysis before. Alright, well, I am going to be able to have 9 mana next turn. So I guess that means Castle Garenbrig's coming out. If they are actually Jund and not Soulflare, then this exposes Castle Garenbridge to an Assassin's Trophy, but I'm perfectly okay ramping that way. It's actually only a 1 mana difference if they ramp me. Well, I guess it is also land destruction. Take that, I'm rolled to 5. Okay, and they have a little bit of a slower start. 2 card types in the yard. I think that means I'm supposed to cast this Traverse just to thin the deck. Opponent knows about these 2 cards, so yeah, I suppose that's the pick, and then I can activate it next turn. And Traverse here, I would need to find a creature and probably a Planeswalker or artifact. Yeah, I'm a little ways away from this doing anything, so let's take the 1 out of 48 then. That is not statistically relevant. It doesn't mean that I'm making the correct play here. I'm just trying to look for an out, and it's not very safe in my hand with Thoughtseize on the table. Alright, this is 4 mana. Another Caryatid. That actually was 5 mana, so I'm getting the read there. Called it. That they don't have Glorybringer, which is a popular pick in these decks. Oh my gosh. Really, deck? Be cool. Including the Fabled Passage and Castle Garenbrig, that's 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of our 27 in the top 45. I guess that's not that unlikely. Oh boy. Well, I assume they draw 2. Yep, they draw 2. We're looking for a World Breaker here. A World Breaker, Eat the Demonic Pact, or I keep telling you, friend, I don't have anything. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Ulamog off the top is also pretty good. Oh, this is the Seasons Past Demonic Pact deck. Yeah, I know what this is. Hedron Archive comes down. I actually think I'm looking for Hour of Promise. No, I won't have enough mana. Well, it's crack. They've already fired off 2 Thoughtseizes, so... Well, still don't have Delirium. I'm actually going to run out the Blast Zone here, because if they want to gift me this Demonic Pact, which is what the red splash is for, is Harmless Offering, then I want to be able to blow the Blast Zone. So, since I don't really have anything better to do with my mana, I'm going to start getting ready to counter that plan. Vraska. That's there to counter the lose the game trigger, assuming that they can't find an answer to it. Nope, that's the wrong mode. So if I don't find a World Breaker or an Ulamog here, yep, the plan is I just need to put 2 counters on this. Done. And I do want to keep this Traverse. If we find a way to get a creature like the Arboreal Grazer in the yard, it's going to be online to go tutor up Ulamog. Oh, thanks for that. Okay, so the emblem's at 9. They're at least a little ways off of that. I'm either going to blow this up with Blast Zone or... Oh, they just fire it off. Alright, they didn't have the answer. Liliana, Last Hope. That doesn't do anything against me. They have plenty of mana, so I think I'm actually supposed to still kill Vraska here. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If the Assassin's Trophy the Blast Zone, then I still get to... Oh boy. This costs 3 to pop. What are my options here? I can go get World Breaker. I can eat one of their lands. It doesn't seem very appealing. I can get Ulamog and not cast it yet. So I think I have to Nissa's Renewal here, pop on Vraska, and then plan to Traverse in Ulamog next turn. Yeah, that seems fine. This actually doesn't hold up Blast Zone, though. They're not going to have the emblem yet. And 2 lands. That's where we're at. It's totally where we're at. Alright, well, we are at 27. Vraska kind of doesn't care about being at 27, but we are at 27. Yep, and they're just sacking off their mana dorks at this point. Well, that was a definite possibility. Found the 3rd Thoughtseize in the top 21. Guess that's not very improbable, but still not great. They still haven't gotten a creature for this emblem to actually threaten me yet, but I think I will need to pop it. This is fine. So this is an additional threat, although it's likely just going to get Swift-ended or potentially Dreadboard. I think they're really only splashing red for the for Swift-end though. Oh no, this list is playing a Hero's Downfall. Alright, well. There's 5. We're going to plus on the mountain because it's land I least care the least about. Fatal Push. Fatal Push. Alright, well, I'm popping this now. I don't think that there's a correct time to do it, and that at least pays our mana evenly. Bye, Vraska. Yep. I had nothing else going on, so I still need to find a Ulamog in a decent amount of time to kill this Liliana. Currently have 9 permanents. They're rebuying Caryatid? They rebought a Caryatid. Interesting. I don't know what that means. Alright, well, Golos for Cataracts. Actually, do I want a Golos for... So Arch of Vraska here will let me draw a card, and the Cataracts will give me the mana to activate Golos. But getting Cataracts means that I have to actually keep Golos on the table, and an opponent was holding a Hero's Downfall and a Fatal Push. So I think that means Arch of Vraska. That gets me the City's Blessing, and I don't get any immediate value, but I couldn't activate it now anyway, so that's probably the correct line. 4 mana here, probably another Pact. Yep. Had I known about this Pact, I actually might have gotten a... I don't have any more lands to go tutor up. Blast Zone, although it wouldn't have mattered because they were holding the Assassin's Trophy. That's an Ugin. Alright. That's what we've been waiting for. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ugin. That took far too long. We're on turn 12. Let's go ahead and -4. That'll hit Lily, Demonic Pact, and all the Caryatids. Send Golos in. And get them down to their starting life total just in time for turn 12. Alright, well, they popped the Hero's Downfall on Nissa, which means Ugin went the distance. Good to know. Cindervines comes in as a way to pop the Demonic Pact. Thought Knot probably comes in just to take the gift out of their hand. Tireless Tracker is a card I always have in mind for these matchups. Being able to draw cards is going to be how we beat them. And this also gives them more answer threats. They didn't see very many creatures out of us, which means bringing in 7 creatures is going to be quite good. And by any creatures, they did see Golos, but you're not sticking around. But I don't think you're actually correct for the shell anymore. I figured the activatable ability would be pretty good, but we already have a better utility land I'd rather fetch. Let's see. So Nissa gets us a lot of value. Worldbreaker has relevant text box. Ugin has relevant text box. This is probably just going to be Trim on the Ruin and the Wakes for the Cindervines again. Hedron Archives out for Thought Knot Seers. I think having them kill themselves is going to be cuter, so I think I want to take this line as opposed to try to grind out the card advantage. Then Nissa's Renewal. They're not really pressuring our life total. They're trying to one-shot us, which would bring back in 1 tracker. Courser of Crucifix actually dies to the Abrupt Decay version of Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay. If they're running the exact list that I saw, they're running 3 Abrupt Decays and 1 Assassin's Trophy. So anything under 3 is probably kind of cuttable. So this looks pretty solid, fair, whatever the correct word would be. Our curve is kind of flat. So turn 1, Arboreal, put in the castle, drop the Arch, Traverse for the mountain, Cindervines on turn 3. They are a Thoughtseize deck, so we're keeping. If they Thoughtseize us, they're actually probably taking the Cindervines. Oh my gosh, who would have thought they had a discard spell? Another card I'm realizing I want is some type of Graveyard Hate. Grafdigger's Cage wouldn't actually be that relevant in this exact moment either, but let's see. If the Assassin's Trophy of land, I think I'd prefer they hit Castle. But something that could exile their yard, even something like a Crook, or... Honestly, I think this deck would want Relic of Progenitus. I know it's not in the format, but I think that's what I'd want. Well, they know about Arch, they don't know about these two. Let's just go ahead and Traverse for a land. And I need to make this a red land. We have 2 wakes and yeah. We brought in the Cinder Vines, and I think being able to cast the Cinder Vines is more relevant than potentially ramping 1 more turn faster. And I really actually don't want to expose this yet. It is basically our only red source. I mean, I guess it's technically a red source, but... Alright, slow ramp it is. They can potentially just drop a Pact next turn. Or they miss a land drop. Oh no, they didn't. Well, we're missing action. You don't want to repay the favor and miss a land? Alright, well, again, Fabled Passage does minimal thinning here. I think we're going to take that line, and I'm also going to use this to go get my waste in case we do actually draw the ramp spell. Opponent is probably going to make us discard this turn. If they draw, it's because they don't have a way to deal with the pact yet. Okay. Taking the shock. So 5 mana Planeswalker. Slaughter Games. Yeah, I'm going to get my waste now. I assume they name Ugin because it wrecked them so hard last time. Worldbreaker. They did know about the one in our hand. I suppose that makes more sense. I was going to be coming down in 2 turns. Alright, bye Worldbreaker, you tried. Oh boy. So, 4, 5, 6. I'm 2 turns off. I need to hit a ramp spell next turn, otherwise this Ugin's not even going to be cast by the time they could give me the pact. And even then, I'm discarding my 2 lands, so... This is also a huge read that I like the card that I drew. I don't have Worldbreaker to draw into, though, which means I have to be able to cast this Ugin, which hitting something like a Nissa's Pilgrimage would be able to do for me. Wait, did they just kill themselves? No, they get to shoot for 4 damage here. Then I suppose we'll see if they have Harmless Offering. If they end up just sacking this pact, we have a decent shot here. Thank you for giving me Delirium. I actually have to try really hard to do that. Alright. So that looks like a pact now. They've already seen our deck, so that Thoughtseize wasn't for good information. Oh, okay, and we won the first game, so that wasn't for any information. I don't know what to make of that. Again, though, we're playing pretty close to a competitive deck tonight. Doesn't happen often, but we will steal some wins just off of that. And honestly, opponent killing themselves off their Demonic Pact is probably something I'd hope for in a janky deck that has, like, no coherent thought in it. Okay, that's not fair. They usually have coherent thought, they're just not good. Thoughts so far, Ugin, Ulamog, they're great cards. I do think the Golos Go Grab Cataracts is a little cute. We could potentially have another utility land in that slot. Blast Zone actually did work pretty well there. Blast Zone has a great ability to keep us alive in some matchups that we just don't pack usual answers for. We don't actually have anything with answers in this deck. If we are running the Traverse package, I'd prefer an easier way to turn it online. A Walking Ballista would also be quite good in this type of deck. But I guess we'll see how we get there. This is slightly awkward. So I think I'm supposed to... I mean, I'm keeping it. These are fine. I just don't know about the sequencing. So we'll pass clock over to opponent here. No Thoughtseize. Okay, Oasis. I can Grazer, put in the Sanctum. I'll have 2 mana next turn, but I won't have anything to go get, which means Traverse probably is getting me a Forest. If I Traverse this turn and Ruin, that'll give me 2 green, but I won't have any more land drops to make this turn. I think Arboreal Grazer is the fastest actual ramp spell. And if I don't find another green source, I can just Ruin for a Forest and put the Forest into play. And if this doesn't tell my opponent what I'm up to, I don't know what does. Traverse, go get a Forest. Forest, Sanctum of Ugin, Ruin. Ruin's going to put into play tapped regardless. So Ruin in the Wake is more mana efficient. You got it. I think opponent realized that we're not going to be doing anything worth pushing, so may as well. And then Traverse here. I'm not going to have Delirium anytime soon. We'll get a... Yeah, may as well just get another Forest. And then that means I can at least Hedron Archive next turn. Mardu. This could be vehicles, control. This actually might be the Young Pyromancer, whatever it's called, build running around. Monastery Mentor. But opponent has recognized that they need to put a clock on the table, which kind of works well for us because we rip a land. Yikes. That played right into what opponent wanted to do. So I'd actually say that just put us really far behind. We were pretty far ahead, but not anymore. On the off chance I actually have to crack the Scavenger Grounds, I'm going to play that for turn. And then if I rip a land, I actually get to cast this Ugin still. Because that's 6. That will start tapping for 2. Bone Crusher Giant is only when you target it with a spell, so I can cast Ugin and plus it and not take any damage. That would send Shambling Vent at it, but that's not really a real problem. That's a real problem. So, World Breaker doesn't get me there. I think I want Nissa's Renewal. Yeah, that doesn't exactly do it either. Only going to be alive for a short amount of time. Now World Breaker does get me there, but if they can do 4 damage with 2 cards in hand, 1 card in hand, not coming back from that. And any targeted burn's going to be pretty lethal in the future. Yeah. World Breaker, each Shambling Vent is pretty much the only thing I get to do here. But it does go get me in Ulamog, so... Another World Breaker's kind of fine, but it's just Ulamog. Man, that K command hitting our Hedron Archive was brutal. Traverse with Delirium. Wait, I didn't do my math, did I? Oops, that's 6. I can Traverse for Golos. It's probably the best I'm going to do. And I actually have to start pressuring my opponent when they literally just need to rep like one of many cards to kill me. I don't have the freedom to take my time doing this. So let's go ahead and grab... Yeah, Grazer doesn't do it. World Breaker doesn't really do it. Golos is the only thing I can cast here. We'll get Golos. Drop Golos. We'll go tutor a land. That's going to turn Shrine back on. And grabbing another Shrine would allow me to cast Ulamog faster, so... Oh boy, looks like we might have a shot here. So, whenever becomes a target of a spell, this is a triggered ability. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to eat you, and Guess it really doesn't matter. Just a red source. And getting in with both of these here, they have to figure out how to answer an indestructible threat, which is not going to be easy, and then that makes it so that either Ulamog or these two are lethal. Oh my gosh, we might have stolen this. Wow, and they hit another land. Ooh, spell. Okay. Well, that still means double chump. And I actually get to pump the World Breaker. Okay, that doesn't mean double chump. Blast Zone won't actually hit anything. I can pump this and get in for 6. I don't think that's relevant. We do get to take a pretty nice look at their deck, though. That is relevant. It is Young Pyromancer. There's a Crackling Doom. That's worth being aware of. Then they have to draw exactly burn here. Young Pyromancer, not burn. So let's go ahead and put a charge counter on Blast Zone. Yep. I feel like we barely took that. Well, their token deck, Kozilek's Return comes in. Coercive Crewfix comes in because they're a pseudo-burn deck. World Breaker's Fat Butt is relevant. Ulamog is less than ideal, but it's fine. Golos actually being grabbed off of the Sanctum and still being castable there might be a reason to keep him in. He was actually very clutch to winning that game. I don't want to be results biased, though. He has been a little lackluster, but having a cheaper artifact creature would be good. Maybe trade him out for a Walking Ballista is going to be the takeaway. Artifacts do lose a ton of value when your opponent is playing Mono K command. Rune in the Wake trim for Kozilek's Return seems fine. Might be a Nissa. Nissa gains us a lot of life, though. She just dies, and then we don't get the mana benefit, though. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, this is Traverse into turn 6 Ugin. Not happening. It is another Thoughtseize deck, though, so I do want to be a little cautious of what I go for. This turn 1 Fabled Passage. Okay, I guess that means the Force is going away. We already have 1 to untap the Castle Garen Brig, and Fabled Passage on 1 is getting us our waste for Rune in their Wake. And no Thoughtseize. Nice. Kozilek's Return is also great here. Should keep us alive. Sideboard cards coming in super clutch. Alright. Hello, Waste, my old friend. Then Rune in their Wake. This also means that we get to make our Courser landfall drop on turn 3. Not like overly... Oh, I was supposed to get red. Oh, well, that's fine. We'll find it before too long. The other Rune in the Wake can get red. Monastery Mentors. They do have it. I actually probably would have Kozilek's Returned if I got red. So waste, put the red in hand. Make the land drop. We'll have 2 mana, so I do have to wait 1 turn before that's relevant. Did not mean to do that, though. So we get a... I guess it's just going to be the Shrine. Yeah, whatever. They don't have land things. We'll do Castle. Tap out. Chandra. Okay. Rose Courser feels like a pretty good line for them here. And that means we get to untap Rune and Kozilek's Return. Yeah, seems fine by me. Traverse can also get us our mountain, so... Yeah, I actually think I just have to go get the mountain. If I ruin, get the mountain. I'll have to put it into my hand and make it for the land drop for turn anyway. Traverse actually is online, so let's ruin. We'll grab the mountain. We're going to put this in hand. Let's play the mountain and Kozilek's return. I don't want them having a mentor running around for too long. Then that means that I can Nissa's Passage and then go grab Ulamog. Assuming that I can actually get up to him. I mean, honestly, even World Breaker would just flash back the Kozilek's return, so that's probably good enough. So we'll do these two. Nissa's Pilgrimage. Grab Forest, Forest, Forest. Put you into play. 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to go get World Breaker because I can rebuy World Breaker. And I can actually cast him. And there's a stomp. All right. Well, this is turning into a game. I think I'm just on trying to top deck some action, though. We are actually under a decent amount of clock, despite the fact World Breaker is going to be a good blocker. Blast Zone. Yeah, I really don't think that's relevant at the moment. We'll play it, though. Let's eat your... You're actually a little pinched on black. The red represents the most amount of burn. I don't want multiple burn spells a turn. Go ahead and flash back the Kozilek's return, then World Breaker exists. It's probably going to chump block for Chandra. Unless a multi-spell, but multi-spelling's fine. That, I don't like that. Alright, really need the Ulamog. So we filter into castle, that leaves us with 9 mana? Yikes, and I think I have to attack. They're just going to chump block with likely the Knight Ally. But if I stay on defense, they'll just generate more tokens. They actually can't. I need to get Chandra off the table. Actually, how much mana do I have? So that's 3, 4, 5. Sorry, trying to double math. So we have 6, 7, 8 mana, which means I can put 4 counters on this. I only need 3, so I can World Breaker here and eat a land, stay on defense for a turn, or I can just pump Blast Zone up to 4. I'll be taking a pretty decent hit, but it's on opponent to actually finish this game. They can only attack with 2 creatures, and they will both die. I think I do need to... Actually... 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. This will allow me to put 1 counter on the Blast Zone or sack a land and buy back a World Breaker. Staying on defense for a turn is slightly risky, but at the moment I'm only taking 2. Unless they attack with Gideon, which is possible. Oh boy. All the tokens. All of them. This actually might be a Gideon emblem. Gideon emblem, Anthem everything. They can still only attack him with 2 creatures at the moment. Well, 4. Oh, and they can alt Chandra next turn because of this new Chandra. That probably should have been something I had on my radar. But that's hard to play around. If anything, it's a 1 to 2 of. Yikes. So, double attack in, double chump block, die in the backswing. Nissa's Pilgrimage won't actually get me many forests. Alright, well, I guess we just play to the best of our ability, and if our opponent is not alting Chandra, I might have a shot at this. If they do Alt Chandra, I probably only have one more turn before I even just die to emblems. Like, that's going to be 2. Yeah, so if they have any spell at this exact moment, I'm probably dead. Although I think I die in combat. I block these 2. It's just the most damage, and I end up taking 8. Okay, you're the most. You're the next most. That's also a problem. And then they just cast this Bone Crusher Giant. Yep. All right. Well, currently 3-1, 1-1. I think that means that this is the turn that we need to try to cash out for something a little bit better. So, artifacts stay out. Thought Not Seer can get roasted, but it can block fairly well. We probably could have won that game if I didn't flash back the Kozilek's return for just the Young Pyromancer. It's probably something I should have kept in mind, but we also would have won it handedly if we had drawn any threat, so it's kind of the cost of doing business. A 1 colorlesser. Okay, so take a shock, put in Grazer, put in Sanctum? Put in Fabled Passage. Go get Mountain. That's turn 3 Kozilek's return. But we have a bomb. Okay. Castle Garen Briggs is fast ramp. The Oasis is going to be how we can Arboreal Grazer. It's either Ulamog or the Sanctum. Don't actually have any ramp in hand, so Ulamog's going to be the slowest, and I'll be shuffling with the Fabled Passage, which means I'll be able to draw back into it. Arboreal Grazer, sure. Castle's fine. And just basic forest. Well, not mad at mana. Not allowed to be mad at mana. And let's see what they got. Opponent said dominance asserted. Then gonna get my red source. Arch of Araska, that's pretty good. So opponent can't attack in through the Grazer, which means they're going to have to try to answer this, and Kozilek's return is instant speed. I suppose that just means forest, and we'll ship it back. 2 more lands in play, and I can cast Worldbreaker. Okay, they're going to actually burn a spell here to kill the Grazer, which is fine. I assume. Double black cast down? And they would have done that pre-combat. Collective Brutality. Okay, that's fine. They're going to kill it anyway. Was supposed to get Young Pyromancer token resolve. That's tilting. Courser. Fantastic draw. That's on me. That did cost him a decent amount of cards, though, and I can now cast Worldbreaker. Jeez, not gonna even get close to it, though. Alright, Grazer, no effect. He is technically a blocker. Traverse is not online yet. Currently have 8 permanents for this Arch of Araska. If they want to grow it, they can grow it. Honestly, burning spells out of their hand when I'm close to top decking Eldrazi is perfectly acceptable. Flashback this Kozilek's return, do all the fun stuff. Okay, so that actually makes me think they don't have a ton of instants and sorceries in hand. But that is a stomp. Oh, this Traverse's Delirium is super close to being online. So Nissa's Pilgrimage, Sorcery, goes into the bin, and then that turns Traverse on? Seems good. That means I'm taking a hit this turn for not a good reason, but... So Nissa's Pilgrimage... Whatever, let's just eat that. I assume they have additional burn spells to put out. Alright. Well, getting further and further away from turning this arch online. It does turn Delirium on, though. Nissa's Pilgrimage. So, Sanctum, Oasis. There's 3 forests, put 1 into play. Play 1 for turn. Yikes, and still no City's Blessing. Guess that comes next turn. Well, we have emptied our deck of a ton of lands. We really need to start drawing gas. Guess it's only 11 lands, but still. 11 of 17, that's a lot. Especially because we only tutored 1 of them. I guess the Pilgrimage, we tutored 4. And Grazer. Activating Arch is a Hail Mary. That's technically a blocker, but dead to just about any burn damage. You tap the colorless, so I don't actually take damage. And Nissa's Renewal can technically draw some cards, but this looks like a Hero's Downfall. Stalwart. So they'll at least be able to kill the Courser with the back half, and that means that opponent gets it. Because it's going to activate Prowess here. I can only block 1 of them. Alright, well, GG's, opponent. I do think there's a slight bit of rough running there towards the end, but kind of the cost of doing business with a 2-half stack. Dittered one of these guys. Let's pop her open. I really wanted this to be good. I really did. Magistrate Scepter. You can do janky stuff in EDH, but nothing really worth writing home about. Alright, well, Green Ramp, what did we learn? I want a Walking Ballista. Like, Traverse for Walking Ballista would have even been great versus the tokens list at the end there. It's a great way to get a little bit of reach. It's also castable. Excuse me. Castable at any point in time. Scales well with our mana plan. Wow, dying. 1 sec. Apologies. So, Nissa's Renewal. It was awkward in our openers, and the couple of times that we could, we ended up trimming it. That might be a sideboard card. That's actually pretty indicative of the sideboard card. Not being able to interact with lands is really good for our deck, but we struggled with Lotus Storm because we can't destroy their lands. They came out just a little bit faster than us, combo finish, all that good stuff. But Graveyard Hate would be pretty good. We don't get access to Ashiok. Graph Digger's Cage doesn't stop the Delve cards, which are the problem. But overall, play good cards, cast good cards. It is pretty linear. I don't think I'd like to play this as my primary deck. It gets a little old over time, but this archetype works. It's only going to get better as we get better ramp cards. Rune in the Wake actually did overperform in my opinion. In most scenarios, we're able to set it up in a way that we are able to care. Although it should be worth noting that Arboreal Grazer turn 3 Nissa's Pilgrimage is better. I can kind of see why people use the Rejuvenator, just because this deck's going to follow a lot of similar concepts to Valakut, where you have like a turn 1 play, then a turn 3 play. So the turn 2 kind of gets cheesed out. I do believe some of the versions of this are running anywhere between 2 to 3 mana dorks. So you could easily just put a couple of mana dorks in where Rune in the Wake is at, and put some better 3-drop ramp spells in. Delirium was slightly hard, but I did like the ability to go get Eldrazi. Hedron Archive did prove to be a liability. I do think it actually lost us that last game there versus Pyromancer, just because K-Command's a very powerful magic card. It's probably one of the most powerful in Pioneer at the moment. So there's a little associated risk with that, but yeah, just some initial thoughts. Anyways, I'm 13. I play a bunch of fun decks for Squirrel Dealer. This is the most competitive I've played in months. If you'd like to check out our content, it's all up on YouTube. Just go search for Squirrel Dealer. If you have a cool idea and you would like to send it to me, happy to take a look. If it's something really cool, we'll play it on stream. But thanks for hanging out tonight, and I'll talk to everybody later.